I'm going to read through the passage and then we'll get to the questions. Moses is in Waterloo Station, London. There's a confused milling mob of West Indians waiting for the boat train. Moses is sitting on a bench when a Jamaican friend, Tolroy, comes up. "Hi, Moses. I didn't expect to meet you in Waterloo for arrivals. The next time will be my departure, please God. The boat train is late." "Who you meeting?" "Some fella named Henry." "Boy, I expecting my mother." "All you fellas really have guts, yes, Tolroy. Where you going to put you? In that 2 before you have in Horror Road?" "I have to look for a bigger place. You know any?" "Look, one of your Jamaican countrymen over there waiting like a hawk for tenants. He have a lot of houses in Brixton. You know what that setup like. A chair, a table, and he hitting you anything from 3 to 5 guineas. You try down by Ladbroke Grove? Since they killed Kelso, English people have been evacuating like Dunkirk from the area. You bound to get a room. Down there too grim. What you want? Belgravia, Park Lane? Maybe you could put you up. Maybe you could put you up at the Dorchester till you find a place." The station loudspeaker announces the arrival of the boat train. An English reporter comes up to them. "Excuse me, sir. Have you just arrived from Jamaica?" Yes. I'm from the Echo. Would you like to tell me what the conditions are like?" Enjoying the situation. "Yes, Moses, go on and tell him." "Well, the situation is desperate as usual. You know that big hurricane it had a few weeks ago?" "Yes." "Well, I was in that hurricane. You could ask my friend here if you think I lie. I was sitting down in my mansion when suddenly I look up and see the sky. What you think happened?" "What?" "Hurricane blow the roof clean off. Banana plantation lay down as if they gone asleep." "Tell me, sir, why are so many Jamaicans coming to England? Do you believe the streets are paved with gold?" "I don't know about all of them, but sometimes in the night I see as if the Bayswater Road sprinkling with diamonds. But then you look in truth, you see only stones and gravel that mix up with the asphalt. You know of any London street what paved with gold?" "Thank you for that statement. I'll just talk to a few others." Chuckling. Watch him. Like him going to tackle that family what coming off the train. In consternation. "That look like my mother and Tanti and Agnes and Louis and the 2 children. Ma, look me over here." As he gets near them, panting. "What is all this?" "Tolroy, boy, you don't remember your own mother?" In a daze. "But what Tanti doing here, ma? And Agnes and Louis and the children?" And we see here some footnotes. We mentioned, let's find one. Where is one? I think that was Belgravia. One. So at the bottom of the passages, you might find footnotes where they define some words or terms that we wouldn't necessarily know about. So Park Lane is okay. So these are affluent neighborhoods, Belgravia and Park Lane. So rich neighborhoods. And number 2 is a hotel in London. Where number 2, Dorchester, a hotel in London. All right, so we should be ready to actually tackle the questions. So for each question, I'll give you guys 20 or 30 seconds to just send your answers in the chat. Then I'll give you my answer and an explanation. So let's start with question 1, which is the easiest question on this paper. The setting is most likely an airport, a train station, an old boat train, or a house in London. So just send your answers in. And while you're sending your answers in, of course, you can write your answers on a sheet of paper if you want to keep track in that way. So I'll give you guys 20 seconds to send your answers in. And if I see an answer that's different from mine, I might ask you what your reasoning is. Don't be afraid to answer. All right, 10 seconds. All right, so this one seemed to be pretty easy. Everyone wrote B, and B is my answer as well. It's obviously a train station, and we can find very clear evidence of this even from the stage description here, I believe. Waiting for the boat train, right? He's in Waterloo Station waiting for the boat train. The boat train is a train, and he's in a station, so obviously it's a train station, right? And there's other evidence throughout the passage, but since everyone has B, there's no need to go further on that. All right, number 2, Moses' description of I was saying Tolroy all along. My apology. Moses' description of Tolstoy's dwelling as a 2 before in line 9 indicates to the audience that it is a wooden structure, tenement dwelling, squatter settlement, or small confined space. Line 9. Where are you going to put she in that 2 before you have in Harrow Road? Line 9. All right, so let me see the answers for this one. I'm seeing F. How did we get F? What's happening? We have A, B, C, D. There's no F. What's going on? Okay, I'm seeing a number of different answers this time. That's interesting. Seeing a number of different answers from you guys. Where are you going to put she in that 2 before you have in Harrow Road? I'm seeing D, A, and F. I'm sure F is wrong. All right, 5 more seconds and then I'll reveal what I have. All right. So for number 2, I have D. Number 2, D. Number 2, D. The description as a 2 before indicates that it is a small confined space. The passage says Tolroy. So, but this is told. Okay, so I guess this is a mistake on the paper. Oh wow, interesting. So I guess I wasn't crazy all along. So yeah, number 2 is D, a small confined space. How do we know this? Let's go back to line 9. So we see here that Tolroy is anticipating his family, and Moses is asking, where are you going to put your family? When your family comes, where are they going to stay? Are they really going to stay in that small space that you have? How is your family going to fit in that space? So he's calling it a 2 before, 2 by 4, that measurement. Just kind of a hyperbole to highlight the fact that his place is too small. So it's a small confined space, and in the very next line we see here, I have to look for a bigger place. I have to look for a bigger place. Okay, so obviously number 2 is D. Number 2, D. All right, let's go down to number 3. The best explanation of the dramatic effect of the loudspeaker mentioned in the second stage direction, lines 20 to 21, is that it increases the feeling of expectancy, encourages the characters to be quiet, announces the arrivals and the departures, reinforces the hustle and bustle of the setting. On your paper, it's a small confined space. Imani, I think you are not looking at the May 2018 paper. There is another paper, or maybe even 2 more papers that feature this passage. So make sure you're looking at the May 2018 paper. That's the one we're doing. On a different paper, some of the questions are slightly flipped around. Some of the questions are flipped around. You might be looking at the 2020 paper or something. So make sure you're looking at the 2018 paper. That's the one we're tackling this time. Am I correct, Imani? Are you looking at the wrong paper? Okay, you see, wrong paper. So, all right, you see what's going on. All right, so number 3, the best explanation of the dramatic effect of the loudspeaker mentioned in the second stage direction, lines 20 to 21, is that it increases the feeling of expectancy, encourages the characters to be quiet, announces the arrivals and departures, reinforces the hustle and bustle of the setting. So let's see the stage direction in lines 20 and 21. The station loudspeaker announces the arrival of the boat train. An English reporter comes up to them. So they are there just waiting. They're waiting on the trains to come. And then there's an announcement that comes, hey, the train has arrived. What is the dramatic effect? That question is asking, what is the reason for the writer putting that in there? What is that supposed to do to us as the reader? I'm seeing A, and I'm seeing D, and I'm seeing C. Well, interesting. That means some people wrong, some people right. So I'm seeing more A's than anything else. All right, my answer for this one is A. A. Someone says, sir, I'm not sure about this one, either D or A. So this one is A. So remember, the dramatic effect, it's not just about what is literally happening in the passage. It's about how does it impact the reader. That's what the dramatic effect is. It's A because let's look at what is happening so far in the extract. So we see here in the first couple of lines, they arrive. We see here in the first couple of lines, the next time will be the first there. This is a clue. They're waiting on the boat train. The writer made sure to tell us that the boat train is late. Why? Because they're waiting on this train. This train is important for some reason. Who you're meeting, they're talking about who they will be meeting, who will be coming off this boat train. So Moses is going to meet some fella named Henry. Tolroy is going to be meeting his mother. So they're waiting on the boat train. And then we see the conversation about Tolroy needing to find a bigger place because his mother is going to come, but where is his mother going to stay? In that 2 before? So they're anticipating, they're looking forward to, they're kind of maybe even anxious or excited about, meeting these people off the boat train. And then down here, we can imagine that this is a play. You see the characters on the stage, they're discussing, they're waiting, the audience is waiting to see, who's going to come off the train, what Talroy's family looks like and all this. And then we hear a loudspeaker announcing, all right, the train is here. So what is the effect of that announcement? The train is here. what happens is your feeling of expectancy is going to increase, because no, finally the train has arrived and the plot can move forward. So remember, they're anticipating the train, and now there's an announcement. The train is here, so something is going to happen. So that feeling of expectancy is what the writer is playing on. So does it encourage the characters to be quiet? Not really. That is not a dramatic effect. What is the dramatic effect? Meaning, what is the effect it has on the reader, on the viewer? Because this should be a play, right? Announces the arrival and departures. Well, obviously, this is announcing things, but this isn't the point. This isn't the dramatic effect. The question is asking, why is it? Why is the loudspeaker mentioned? It's not just about announcing things, but what is the effect of the announcement? And we see here reinforces the hustle and bustle. This could be a slim possibility, but it's definitely not the best explanation. Here we see what is the best explanation. I mean, many things are reinforcing the hustle and bustle. We see the reporter coming and talking, but the point of the announcement is that, well, finally the train has arrived, and now we can expect the plot to move forward. So number 3, definitely A. All right, let's jump to 4. Which of the following mostly, pay attention to the bolded words. When you say a word in bold, it means maybe there's more than one possible answer, but there's one best answer. So usually they're going to have one answer that is close, but one answer that is the best. We're looking for that best answer. Okay, number 4. Which of the following mostly contributes to humor in the extract? So maybe one or two of these might be funny, but one of them contributes humor the most. A, the next time will be my departure, please God. B, a chair, a table, and he hitting you anything from 3 to 5 guineas. C, what you want? Belgravia, Park Lane, maybe you could put you up at the Dorchester. Or D, do you believe that the streets are paved with gold? Which one of these lines is supposed to be funny? Is supposed to make the audience laugh? I'll give you guys 20 seconds because this one is easy. So far I'm seeing many C's and one D. And a P. All right, let's take a look at each of these statements in the passage and see which one is supposed to be funny. Which one is supposed to be funny? So let's look at line 4. Line 4 says, the next time will be my departure, please God. This isn't really humorous. It's not really humorous. It's only the second line, so there's no context for humor at this point. We just see that Moses wants to depart. Nothing funny going on, so it's not A. Let's check B. A chair, a table, and he hitting you anything from 3 to 5 guineas. Yeah, that's 3 lines 13 to 14. So here we have to look at the context of the line to see whether it's supposed to be funny or not. And of course, Tolroy is basically complaining about the house that the Jamaican man would have to offer and the location that it's in. He's saying, I don't want to rent such a place because, you know, for the price, it's not so impressive. So this is not really funny. This is not really funny, actually. Let's look at C, lines 18 to 19. So Moses is suggesting, why don't you check your Jamaican friend and see if you can find a place to rent from him. And Tolroy, with his high chest, he's so proud. He's saying, no, I don't want those small dwellings. I want somewhere bigger, somewhere fancier. So basically, Moses is saying, so what you want? You want these You want houses in these expensive places. Remember, these are not money men. Obviously, Tolroy isn't rich. If you were rich, you wouldn't be living in a two before. So Moses is saying, so you want the biggest house in London? You want the richest hotel in London? Is that really what you want? Obviously, Moses is being sarcastic. He's joking because clearly Tolroy cannot afford anything here. So we can see that C is funny. C is supposed to be funny. Let's check D. Is D better? Do you believe that the streets are paved with gold? Line 36. So the reporter comes to Moses. The reporter is being a little bit caustic, a little bit feisty. He has the attitude of, where are you coming to my country? Do you think we have money growing on trees? Do you think the streets are paved with gold? So this is not funny. The reporter is being unkind. He's being sarcastic, and he's not really trying to be humorous, trying to be funny. So the answer is C. There's some funny sarcasm happening in C. All right. By the way, if I mention an answer that is unclear or that is strange, that you disagree with, let me know in the chats and we can talk more about it. So if you think my answer is madness, let me know. Let me know. All right. Until then, let's move on to question 5. The expression waiting like a hawk for tenants, lines 11 to 12, is effective in A, highlighting the fear of the immigrants, B, pointing out the birds that flock the venue, C, emphasizing birds of prey as a metaphor, D, reinforcing the aggressive nature of the business. All right, so let's check our answers for question 5. And we're looking at these lines 11 to 12. All right, I'm seeing about 20 D's. Wow, seeing about 20 D's. So I guess we all think it's D. Are we correct? Let's see what I think about this. The expression waiting like a hawk for the tenants. So what is the context of this expression? Moses is saying, look, you can get a house to rent if you check out that Jamaican guy over there, talk to him, and he will definitely hook you up with a good place. And he says he's over there waiting like a hawk for tenants, for people to rent his houses. He's waiting like a hawk. We know that a hawk is a bird of prey. Hawks wait for fish or whatever, and then they just swoop in and get them. And Moses adds that this man has a lot of houses in Brixton, so he's a very aggressive businessman. So does it highlight the fear of the immigrants? This has nothing at all to do with fear. So A is out of it completely. Pointing out birds, this is madness. There are no birds in this passage. Emphasizing birds of prey as a metaphor. This answer sounds fancy, but it doesn't make sense. Why would it be emphasizing birds of prey as a metaphor? D, reinforcing the aggressive nature of the business. Easily D. It's D. The business is aggressive because we see that this man here is waiting like a hawk for tenants. So as these men are just trying to catch customers. If you're from Jamaica, I'm not sure about the other Caribbean states. If you are from Jamaica, then you might know what it is to see like the bus or taxi operators in the park. And as soon as they see you coming from even a mile, they will run, grab your bag, come teach one already. That is an aggressive businessman right there. Just trying to get customers, trying to get tenants in this case. So yeah, it's D. And I don't think anyone disagrees because I see lots of. Someone says C, emphasizing birds of prey as a metaphor. It does use birds of prey, waiting like a hawk, but let's look at this again. Technically, this would more be a simile, perhaps. It's waiting like a hawk, so it's not even a metaphor. So yeah, it's definitely D. Definitely D. All right, let's check question 6. Which of the following are used? By the way, if you are just joining in, check the link at the top of the chat and download this paper so you can have the paper in front of you. All right, number 6. Yeah, that would be a simile, exactly, Sion. That would be a simile. All right, let's look for number 6. Let's look at number 6. Which of the following are used to indicate that the extract portrays a Caribbean experience? A, language and diction. B, dress and names of places. C, tone and reference to a hurricane. D, reference to a banana plantation and gold. Which of these indicate that the extract portrays a Caribbean experience? Chat is blowing up with A's. Are you all right or are you all wrong? Well, all right, let's see. Which of the following are used to indicate that the extract portrays a Caribbean experience? Language and diction. So this is basically all of the language and the word choices, the kind of language, the kind of grammar, the dialect, and the word choices used. So let's see if language and diction does indicate that this is a Caribbean thing, Caribbean experience. What Caribbean language do we see here? Who you meeting? Who you meeting? Instead of who are you meeting? Who you meeting? So this is kind of a Creolish style of speaking. Some fella named Henry. Yeah. Fellow would be proper English. Some fella named Henry. Boy, I expecting my mother. Instead of I am expecting my mother. So we can see here that the language is definitely, it could be Caribbean. Maybe in other parts of the world people speak like this, but this is definitely giving us a hint. Let's see. We're going to put she. We're going to put she instead of her. This is I think a very I have a couple of Bayesian friends and this is how they speak. We're going to put she. Yeah. Caribbean. Stephanie says two before. That's definitely a Caribbean thing to say. So yeah, I think it's safe to say the answer must be A. Dress and names of places. This is ridiculous. We haven't really been given any information on how these people. And yeah, they even mentioned Jamaica, which is like just too obvious, isn't it? Too obvious. Dress and names of places is definitely out. Tone and reference to a hurricane. What tone? Is there a Caribbean tone? No. Reference to a hurricane. Hurricane happens all over the world, not just in the Caribbean. Reference to a banana plantation. CSEC is trying to trick you with number 6, but banana plantations can be anywhere. Gold is definitely not a Caribbean thing. So yeah, number 6A. Easy question. Let's go to 7. One of the themes in this extract is traveling by air, dependent countries searching for a better life, overpopulation, and exploitation. One of the themes in this extract. Let's throw our answers in. I'll be speeding up because we're only at number 7. That's dangerous. All right. Let's see what you guys think. Let us see what you guys think. Let's see what you think. I want to see your ideas. All right, this one is obviously C, searching for a better life. These men have traveled to England, to London or wherever. Well, we see London mentioned. They've traveled to the UK or wherever in search of a better life. We see the reporter asking, "Do you think the streets are paved with gold?" And so obviously they are there to, make money, try to find a better experience, financially and so on. So C, traveling by air is ridiculous. This makes no sense. Dependent countries, where this isn't really a theme. The passage kind of suggests that some countries might depend on bigger countries, but that is definitely not a big theme in the passage. Overpopulation and exploitation is totally out. So 7, C. All right, let's check 8. Moses' response to the reporter suggests that he is ignorant, being sarcastic. He misunderstood the question asked, fears the reporter might embarrass him. So we can check back to the in the passage and see what this conversation was all about. Moses' response to the reporter. Let's see Moses' response. So the reporter asks, "Excuse me, sir, have you just arrived from Jamaica?" And the reporter is asking what the conditions are like. What does Moses say? Moses tells a ridiculous story about him sitting in his mansion and a hurricane comes along. And the reporter asks him if he thinks the streets are paved with gold. And he says, well, some streets seem to be sparkling with diamonds, but when you look, it's just gravel and asphalt. So Moses is actually showing quite a bit of intelligence in his answers. The reporter is trying to embarrass him, trying to kind of pick on him, but he's being very sarcastic and very smart in his answers. So he's being sarcastic. He's not being ignorant. This would mean he doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know what the reporter means. He understands the reporter and he's basically backfiring the sarcasm that the reporter has come with. He definitely understood the question. So it's not C. And he doesn't fear that the reporter might embarrass him because he is instead embarrassing the reporter. So number 8, definitely B, he's being sarcastic. And in the chat, I'm seeing many B's here, so that was an easy one. Number 9, Tolroy's reaction to his family's arrival is best described as, and this is a little tricky. So I definitely want to see what you guys have to say about this. Tolroy's reaction to his family's arrival is best described as shock and relief, joyfulness and longing, anxiety and anticipation, amazement and confusion. How does he react when his family arrives? All right, so I see a couple of C's, but I see mainly D's. And actually, C and D are the competitors for this one. C and D are the competitors. So let's see which one is better. So shock and relief is out. because when his mother came with all this bag of people, obviously he was not relieved. He was shocked to see that so many people came. Let's revisit the passage briefly to see his reaction. Eh, Tony. Uh, this is his reaction at the end. In a daze. This is a keyword. He's in a daze. In a daze is like confusion, panic. And he says, "But what Tanti doing here? Whoever Tanti is, why is Tanti here? I'm not expecting Tanti. Ma and Agnes and Louis and the children." He's wondering, what the heck are all these people doing here? I only expected one person. I have a two before. I can hardly find space for you alone, let alone everyone. So how is he feeling? So there's no relief. Obviously, there's no joyfulness in this reaction, right? Or longing. So it could either be anxiety and anticipation or amazement and confusion. No, the better answer is D. And the reason is these two emotions capture exactly what he's feeling. He's amazed. Do we see the amazement? He's in a daze, first of all. Second, he's so confused as to what these people are doing here. Look at what he says in consternation, which is more confusion. Look at my mother and Tanti. He's amazed. Look at the exclamation marks. He's wondering, why are they here? What about confusion? We see consternation, we see daze, and we see him asking, what is Tanti doing here? So he's confused as to why they are here. So why couldn't it be C? Anxiety and anticipation. He might be anxious, but the main, remember, the best description is what we're looking for. Not just a good description, the best one. The anxiety is not what is coming out here. The anxiety would more be if he knew they were coming all along and he was just there worrying. But in this moment when he sees these 3, 4, 5 people coming off the boat train, he's not necessarily anxious in the moment. He's shocked and he's confused. That's what's going on. He's wondering what is going on. Anticipation would not be a good description because he's not anticipating them. He just met them. They have just arrived. So he's no longer anticipating anyone. So number 9 is D, amazement and confusion. All right. Number 10, last one for this passage. Yeah, exactly. He was not anticipating. He was anticipating his mother all along, but he wasn't anticipating everyone else. And even after they arrived, you can't say that he was anticipating finding a house for them also, because this was not in his plan any at all. But we definitely see that he was shocked, he was confused, he was bewildered. That's what we see. All right, let's look at number 10. So this is actually an easy passage, I think. Most of us got at least 8 of these 10 questions right. How do the stage directions in lines 42 and 44, chuckling and in consternation, function as an effective guide to the action on stage? So we're going to be looking at the stage directions in lines 42 and 44, chuckling, and then in consternation. How do they function? A, they present an indifferent emotional response. Indifferent, of course, means basically no emotion. B, they shift the mood from carefree to anticipation. C, they heighten the suspense about Tolroy's family. D, they provide a sense of the local community in London. Deandra is being smart with a B here. All right, so what's happening? And we can, of course, take a look at the stage directions. We see at first they're joking around with this conversation with the reporter, and then Moses is chuckling because he's being sarcastic and he's being a smartass. So he's chuckling. And then, yeah, he's saying, look at the reporter acting as if he's really gonna try to talk to these people coming off. But then when they look, these people coming off the boat train are Tolroy's family. And then we say, we move from laughter, chuckling, he's laughing. We move from this to what? Consternation. Now he's perplexed. So this movement from laughing to confusion, what does that do for us? I'm seeing some B's and some C's. I'm seeing like 50-50, B, C, B, C. First, they were chuckling. Then they are, Tolroy especially, is confused. All right, so A is complete madness, right? B is possible. They shift the mood from carefree. They were carefree at first because they were joking around to anticipation. Consternation. No, it's like, whoa, what's going on? I need to focus on what's happening. This is reality hitting. Or they heighten the suspense about Tolroy's family. Obviously, D doesn't make sense. So it's between B and D. Which is better? B or D? Shift the mood from carefree to anticipation or heighten the suspense. All right. My answer is actually B, and I am pretty sure that B is correct. And I'm going to tell you why. C is not a terrible answer, but the reason why C is not the best answer is we need to focus on the stage directions. We're not focusing just on the conversation and the overall scene. We're focusing on why did the playwright put chuckling and then consternation? What does chuckling represent? What kind of mood? Carefree, a carefree mood. What does consternation mean? I almost said constipation. Consternation means he is now trying to understand. He's confused, he's anxious, he's perplexed, right? So obviously we're moving from chuckling to consternation. In other words, we're moving from carefree to anticipation. So let's take a look at C and see if C could possibly work. They provide they heighten the suspense about Tolroy's family. One of the main reasons why it couldn't really be C, if you look at it deeply, is there is no more suspense. Let's say that look like my mother and Tanti, and so you could say that maybe there's a bit more suspense because he's wondering. Maybe now the reader or the viewer is wondering, why is Tolroy confused? But remember, this is a play. It's a play. It means, imagine that you're in the audience looking at the stage. If you're in the audience looking at the stage, you can already see these people coming off the train. So you don't need to look at Tolroy's expression in order to find suspense, because you already see what's going on. The main thing is that Tolroy is no longer, or these two men are no longer joking around, because they realize that, whoa, something serious is happening here. We have 4 people coming off the train. Where are they going to sleep tonight? Right? So we see the change in mood from carefree, happy-go-lucky to consternation. All right, and that is it for the first passage. That is it for the first passage. All right, how many points do you guys have so far? 10, 9, 8, hopefully. So now let's move on to the second passage. All right, the maid shows in Mrs. Linde, dressed in traveling clothes, and shuts the door after her. In a dispirited and somewhat hesitant voice, "Hello, Nora." Uncertain. "Hello? You don't recognize me?" "No, I don't know. But wait, I think..." Exclaiming, "What, Christine? Is it really you?" "Yes, it's me." "Christine, to think I didn't recognize you. But then how could I?" More quietly, "How you've changed, Christine." "Yes, no doubt. I have in 9, 10 long years." "Is it so long since we've met?" "Yes, it's all of that." "Oh, these last 8 years have been a happy time, believe me. And so now you've come to town too. Made the long trip in the winter. That took courage. I just got here by ship this morning. To enjoy yourself over Christmas, of course. Oh, how lovely. Yes, enjoy ourselves, we'll do that. But take your coat off. You're not still cold? Helping her. There now, let's get cozy here by the stove. No, the easy chair there. I'll take the rocker here. Seizing her hands. Yes, now you have your old look again. It was only in that first moment. You're a bit more pale, Christine, and maybe a bit thinner, and much, much older, Nora. Yes, perhaps a bit older, a tiny bit, not much at all. Stopping short, suddenly serious. Oh, but thoughtless of me. Oh, but thoughtless me, to sit here chattering away. Sweet, good Christine, can you forgive me? What do you mean, Nora? Softly. Poor Christine, you've become a widow. You poor thing. How much you must have gone through. And he left you nothing? Nope. And no children? Nope. Nothing at all then? Not even a sense of loss to feed on. Looking incredulously at her. But Christine, how could that be? Smiling wearily and smoothing her hair. Oh, sometimes it happens, Nora. So completely alone? How terribly hard that must be for you. I have 3 lovely children. Can you see you can't see them now. They're out with the maid. But now you must tell me everything. No. Tell me about yourself. You remember that Torvald left the department when we were married? There was no chance of promotion in his office. And of course he needed to earn more money. But that first year he drove himself terribly. He took on all kinds of extra work to keep him going morning and night. It wore him down. And then he fell deathly ill. The doctors said it was essential for him to travel south. Yes, didn't you spend a whole year in Italy? That's right. It wasn't easy to get away, you know. Ivar had just been born. But of course we had to go. But it cost a frightful sum, Christine. But it's lucky you had it when you needed it. Well, as it was, we got it from Papa. I see. It was just about the time your father died. Yes, just about then. And you know, I couldn't make that trip out to nurse him. I had to stay here, expecting Ivar any moment, and with my poor sick Torvald to care for. Dearest Papa, I never saw him again, Christine. Oh, that was the worst time I've known in all my marriage. I know how you loved him. And then you went off to Italy? Yes, we had the means now. And the doctors urged us, so we left a month later. And your husband came back completely cured? Sound as a drum. But the doctor? Who? I thought the maid said he was a doctor. The man who came in with me. Yes, that was Dr. Rank. But he's not making a sick call. He's our closest friend. And he stops by at least once a day. Tell me, is it really true that you weren't in love with your husband? Why did you marry him then? My mother was still alive, but bedridden and helpless. And I had my 2 younger brothers to look after. In all conscience, I didn't think I could turn him down. No, you are right there. But was he rich at the time? He was very well off, I'd say. But the business was shaky, Nora. When he died, it all fell apart and nothing was left. And then? Now it's over, Nora. My poor mother doesn't need me, for she's passed on. Nor the boys either. They're working now and can take care of themselves. How free you must feel. No, only unspeakably empty. Nothing to live for now. Standing up anxiously. That's why I couldn't take it any longer out in that desolate hole. Maybe here it'll be easier to find something to do and keep my mind occupied. If I could only be lucky enough to get a steady job, some office work. Alright, so this is a long passage. Not extremely difficult, but there are a couple of tricky questions on this passage. For those just joining, I'm seeing the number of viewers increasing bit by bit. check the link at the top of the chat, grab this paper, and work this paper with us. All right, so question 11. The stage directions in the opening scene, lines 1 to 7, reveal that the meeting between Nora and Mrs. Linde is cheerful, awkward, purposeful, businesslike. As usual, while looking at the question, we take a look at the scene. So these lines, what kind of meeting is this? A cheerful meeting, an awkward meeting, a purposeful meeting, or a businesslike meeting? Send me your answers in the chats. Hi, LeGuin. Thanks for joining us. All right, so this meeting here, let's see what happens in the meeting. Look at the stage directions here. Look at how these women are acting in a dispirited. So dispirited in this case kind of means not very excited. In a dispirited and somewhat hesitant voice. Pay attention. Hesitant. This person is kind of holding back, not sure if they should speak, not sure what's going on. So we see some uncertainty happening here. Hello, Nora. And Nora is uncertain. She doesn't know who is talking to her. And then we see here, you don't recognize me. And then finally, they recognize each other. And then by line 7 here, we see that Nora is saying, Christine, you have changed. So this is definitely not cheerful. Purposeful just doesn't make sense here. And it's not businesslike. This isn't like two business people meeting formally, greeting officially. So the only possible answer is really B, awkward. Why is it awkward? Because we see one woman not recognizing the other. We see one person being hesitant to speak. This is an awkward meeting. It's like they're not just clicking and connecting like good old friends. The meeting is awkward at first. All right, number 12. Number 12, the audience is made aware of the season through reference to what? Let's see your answers for number 12. The audience is made aware of the season through reference to what? All right, just as I feared, I'm seeing a number of B's. See a couple of C's, a couple of A's. Well, most of you guys might be surprised at my answer. Number 11. 11 was B. 11 was B. And number 12 for me is not B. Number 12 for me is actually C. Number 12 is C. And let me explain. I think I've seen where some teachers said number 12 is B, but I think number 12 is C. Christmas and the long trip. So how do we know what season it is? Let's see. I just got here by ship this morning. And then Nora says, to enjoy yourself over Christmas. Okay. So we know that Christmas is in the answer. So it could be B, it could be C. All right. So let's see if the long trip or if the cold tells us that it is winter. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, take off your coat. This is the mention of the traveling clothes, but you can wear a coat in any season, actually. You're not still cold. So I guess some teachers look at this line and say, well, if somebody is cold, it must be winter. Let me tell you guys, I am here in Japan, and you don't need winter to feel cold in Japan. Cold time does not mean winter. It can be cold in spring. It can be cold in autumn, especially. And in some countries, even summer is cold. So this is not strong evidence that it is winter. So let's see, what about the trip? How could the trip tell us that it's winter? I think the answer is very clear if you look at a certain line. Let's see. Where's mention of the trip? Mention of the trip. Oh, look at this. Line 11. Made the long trip in the winter. This is in the same sentence. Made the long trip, and this is obviously a winter trip. So the answer is actually an adjective describing the trip, somewhat. So it's as if I were to say, I made a trip in, I made a summer, I took a summer vacation yesterday. And then I ask you, what season is it? Obviously, you're not going to say winter. You're going to say summer. Why? Because my vacation gave away the answer. So the trip here is said to be in winter. And here we have the long trip. Long trip in winter. Long trip in winter. Christmas, long trip. That's it. Cold does not equal winter. Cold might suggest that it might be winter, but it's not in every country that once it's cold, it's automatically December or January. If you're in certain countries, it's always cold. Go to Canada and see if you're not cold all year round. So if you look at the Christmas time, it's obvious because Christmas is in December, which is usually winter time. And the long trip is said to be in winter. The long trip in winter. It's a winter trip, winter vacation, winter traveling, winter movement. All right. Let's see. What's Coffee saying here? Because during Christmas time, traveling either be delay or take time. Yeah, that's definitely something that happens in the winter time. So yeah, I'm not sure why B seems to be going around as the answer, because cold is simply not strong enough evidence. Do you guys agree with me, or do you still think cold definitely equaled winter? Which one equals winter more strongly? Cold or long trip in winter? Which one is better evidence, to be honest? If I say I'm taking a winter trip, and somebody else says I'm cold, which one is giving you a clearer indication that it is winter? Obviously, me saying it is a winter trip. Yeah, cold ties into winter season, but which one is stronger evidence? Somebody clearly saying this is a winter trip, or somebody saying it is cold? Simply saying it is cold is not evidence enough. You can be cold in any season. You know? My skin is very thin. I'm always cold. In summer, I wear a coat in summer. My wife is always asking me if I'm okay. Are you insane? Why are you wearing a tam? Why are you in a jacket? Because I'm always cold. So in terms of evidence, it has to be C. Let's move on. If we have time, we can come back to it, but I don't think we need to come back to it. It should be easy. now that you see the evidence. 13. From the extract, the audience learns that Torvald worked hard and was a good provider, resigned his job in order to marry Nora, overworked himself and could not travel, was promoted at the office after his marriage. So we're at number 13 now. What do we know about Torvald based on the passage? Yeah, in the Caribbean, the place does get cold in winter, but not compared to some other countries. In some other countries, it's worse. Why am I seeing so many C's? What are you guys thinking? What are you guys thinking? All right, so number 13, let's see. Number 13. Torvald worked hard and was a good provider. Do we have any evidence? Let's see. Okay, look at what Nora says about Torvald here. Torvald left the department when we were married. So first of all, B is out because B says resigned his job in order to marry Nora, but he left the department after they were already married, so it couldn't be B. There was no chance of promotion at the office, so obviously it couldn't be D. So is it A or is it C? Did he work hard? Did he work hard? Was he a good provider? Did he overwork himself? Could he not travel? He needed to earn more money. We see that Torvald was interested in making more money. He drove himself terribly, which means he overworked. He worked hard. So we see overworked coming in from C. But overworked in this case, it's the same as hard work. He's a hard worker. He took on all kind of extra work. So we see that he's definitely working hard. It wore him down. He got sick. He fell ill. The doctor said, this is the key phrase, the key sentence. The doctor said it was essential for him to travel north. And we see in the rest of the passage that he did travel to Italy. So we can't say that he could not travel because obviously he did travel. So the only possible answer is A. 13A is the only answer. Worked hard, was a good provider. All right, 14. Which of the following adjectives best describe Nora? All right, send in an answer. So 14. Which of these adjectives best describe Nora? Which of these adjectives best describe Nora? Aloof and meek, warm and hospitable, focused and forgetful, light-headed and generous. I see some B's. B, 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 B. Okay, no suspense, no drum roll. The answer is easily B. For 14, warm and hospitable. We see that she welcomes her friend in. She sits her she gives her a nice chair. And yeah, we don't have to go through the passage. She's definitely warm and welcoming. She's hospitable. She invites her friend and makes sure that she's comfortable, basically. Aloof, she's not aloof. Aloof would mean she's kind of laid back and not really showing much emotion. Obviously, she shows a lot of emotion toward her friend, especially listening to the sad story. She's this is kind of a contradiction, focused and forgetful. She's a bit forgetful, I think we saw in the passage, but she's not very focused because she's forgetful. Light-headed and generous, she's kind of generous in how she behaves, but I wouldn't say she's lightheaded. So 14B, warm and hospitable. All right, 15. The best explanation of the dramatic impact created by the lines, and he left you for nothing up until feed on, lines 25 to 30, is that they create a light-hearted atmosphere, provide comic relief to the audience, understate the conflict between the characters, heighten the intrigue about Mrs. Linde's situation. So let's find those lines, lines 25 to 30. So from here, and he left you nothing? No. And no children? No. Nothing at all then? Not even a sense of loss to feed on. So Mrs. Linde can't believe it. I'm seeing D in the chat. Yeah, 15, definitely D. Heightens the intrigue because we're seeing how incredulous, how surprised Mrs. Linde is. And so the audience can become more interested in why wasn't she left anything? What really happened? And so basically we can get more invested. We can become more invested into her story. Create a light-hearted atmosphere. This is absolute madness. There's nothing light-hearted happening. Comic relief? Nope. Nothing funny, nothing comical is happening here. And there is no conflict between these two characters. So this is the only possible answer. Okay, 16. Mrs. Linde's role is significant because she adds to the setting and becomes part of the props. Well, CSEC is funny sometimes. She is contrasted with Nora, representing all she's not. Symbolizes perfection and travel to foreign countries. Is a valuable friend to Nora and has been supportive. So what do you guys think about 16? Why is Mrs. Linde's role significant in the passage? All right, her role is significant because she is contrasted with Nora, B, representing all she's not. We see when we look at Nora's situation, we see that she lost her husband, her kids are all grown up, and the kids don't need her anymore. She has lost her mother. She's broke. She has no money, no life. And then on the flip side, we see a contrast, meaning like an opposite here. Nora has all of these things. Nora has her hardworking husband. She has money. She can afford to move to Italy. So Nora's life is rich and fulfilling, while Mrs. Linde just feels empty. Even as we see in the end, Mrs. Linde talks about the emptiness she feels. So it's B. A is ridiculous. How would the woman become a part of the props? The props are the actual things that the actors use. So that doesn't make sense. C, she doesn't symbolize perfection. There's nothing to hint that she's perfect. She seems to be well off and kind of happy, but there's no perfection there. And D, she's a valuable friend to Nora and has been supportive. This is kind of true, but they haven't seen each other for 10 years. So, I mean, how supportive is a friend who doesn't ask you, how are you in 10 years? So, yeah, B is the only real answer here. Netflix asks, what is 15? Number 15 is D. 15D and 16 is B. 15D, 16B. All right, let's move on. 17. 17. The best explanation of the function of Nora's speech in lines 48 to 51 is that. All right, so first of all, let's take a look at Nora's speech in lines 48 to 51. Okay, so this speech here, where Nora talks about her father who was sick and how it was the worst time in her marriage when he died. Yeah, so good point there by Kristen for the last answer. She's not shown to be this great supportive friend. All right, so we're at number 17. What is the purpose of this speech? All right, send me your answers. What is the purpose of this speech? Only one person has the guts to answer this one. Is it tough? 17 difficult? I think 17 is easy. Come on, guys, what do you think? We see D or B. All right, so this part is mainly about Nora's father and Nora's father dying and how it was the worst time of her life. And so for 17, it's D. It alerts the audience to her sense of loss created by her father's death. A is totally out. There's nothing here to talk about the financial situation. C doesn't really make much sense because this isn't focusing on tension in her marriage. But what about B? Helps to develop her character as a devoted mother. What about B? What about B? Let's see. She's talking about her father is sick and she couldn't go out to nurse him because she had to stay there expecting her son, I guess, Ivar. So she was pregnant at the time and her husband was sick. But we can't say that this is talking about her being a devoted mother because she was pregnant at the time, but she wasn't taking care of her children or anything like that. She was just unable to travel. But what the speech here focuses on is that, dearest Papa, I never saw him again. She's lamenting about how she never saw her father again. And she says, this is the key line. That was the worst time I've known in all my marriage. So this wasn't because of tension in the marriage. It was because her father had died. So 17, D, alerts the audience to her sense of loss created by her father's death. D. All right. Antoinette asks, answer for 11. 11 is B. B. 11B. And so now we're at 17. 17D. 17D. Not B, because the main purpose of this speech is to show that when her father died, it really affected her. All right, 18. We're winding down on this passage. What is Netflix talking about? What is this? What's going on? Is this a code? For those who are just joining, if there are persons just joining, there is a link at the top of the chat. Use that link to get this paper. Download the paper and follow us as we solve it. All right, we're going to 19. The real is bolded here. okay, Netflix. It's the actual answer sheet so far. Okay, thank you, thank you. Guys, if you missed an answer, don't worry about catching up right now as it is. If you missed an answer, just move on with us. At the end, I'll recap and give you all the answers. No problem. You guys will have everything. All right. So we're at number 19. The real reason for Mrs. Linda's trip is to visit Nora and her family, return to that desolate hole, travel overseas after 10 years, obtain a job, and start a new life. What is the real reason for her trip? We're at number 19. Oh, I'm sorry. I think we missed 18. Sorry, guys. We're at number 18. I'm sleeping. What is the main theme in the extract? Death and rebirth, gender awareness, marriage and family, wealth and longing. Yes, so we're at number 18. What is the main theme in this passage? Maybe it was just so easy that I skipped it. I skipped it by accident. What's the main theme in the passage? I see C, D, A, C. All right, number 18, definitely C, marriage and family. We see two women talking about what happened in their marriages and what's going on with their family life. They talk about their parents, their children, their spouses. So definitely marriage and family. Gender awareness doesn't make sense. They're not talking about gender per se. Death and rebirth, nope. No one is being reborn here. Wealth and longing, definitely out. So 18C. Let's jump to 19. What is the reason for Nora's trip? So send in the answers for 19. What is the reason for Nora's trip? Why did Nora travel? What's the reason for Nora's trip? All right. Number 19 is D, to obtain a job and start a new life. How do we know this? It's clear in the last speech here. She can't take it any longer. She wants to leave that desolate hole. So obviously, return to that desolate hole is definitely way out. To visit Nora, she ended up visiting Nora, but that's not why she traveled in the first place. She traveled because she wanted to start over. We see here, if I could only be lucky enough to get a steady job, some office work. Yeah. She wants something to do to keep her mind occupied. Why? Because she feels empty. Because of all the loss she has felt, she has suffered, she now feels empty and she needs to fill that void with basically a new life. All right, number 20. The most suitable title for this extract is what? What's the most suitable title for the extract? Papa's Memories, Friends United, Returning to Italy, Christmas Festivities. Number 20. What's the most suitable title? All right, for number 20, the most suitable title is B, Friends United. The entire passage happens in the context of two long lost friends reuniting. That's what's going on. They're reuniting, they're catching up on life, they're seeing what has been happening over the last 10 years. Friends United. The passage is not about Papa, it's not about Christmas festivities. I see a couple of C's, but the passage is not about returning to Italy. Italy is mentioned. The only real focus on Italy is that Nora Nora traveled to Italy when her husband was sick. That's all. But the passage isn't about that. The passage is really about these two women. Oh, sorry, what am I doing? The passage is about these two women catching up, basically. These two women catching up. Yeah, so number 20 is B. 20B. All right, let's move to the third passage, Immigrant. And this is a poem. Immigrant. I see her every day, crossing the parking lot at 4. A black anomaly within a land of snow. A lonely and misplaced woman, desperately squeezing from the land its celluloid comforts. Caribbean temper chilled by guarded hostile looks that stop the blood more than the blizzards and the frosts of barren prairie winters. She often wonders why. Not slave, neither ayah, nor domestic, but now as pedagogue she comes, wistfully seeking a better life. To Canada, land of silver dreams, refuge of slave, reject and persecuted. But when the dross of mass-produced catalog bought trifles has worn, and when the shiny metallic coach has sputtered and groaned its last somewhere, upon a lonely highway, its guts congealed by biting cold, and when the sun petulantly hides its head, then insane jungle rhythms reverberate from the gaudy Hilton perched crazily up on the Belmont hills, and amidst the fevered tingle of rum punches, carnival spectres arise from decaying baranoid mansions around the Queen's Park savannah and return to haunt her. I like poetry, for those of you who don't know, so the poems are particularly interesting for me. Immigrant, immigrant, immigrant. Not a difficult poem, not a difficult poem. All right, let's look at 21. Look, too big. To which of the following senses does the imagery in stanza 1 mainly appeal? Sight and touch and taste, smell and hearing, hearing and taste. To which of these two senses does the imagery in stanza 1 mainly appeal? Let me see your answers. All right, we see A, sight and touch. Definitely the answer is A, sight and touch. There is no taste, no smell, no hearing. Sight and touch. We see sight because I see her every day crossing the parking lot. We see the description of black and white. That's visual imagery. There is touch because she's desperately squeezing from the land its celluloid comforts. So 21 is A. All right, 22. The poet describes the woman as a black anomaly in line 3, primarily to highlight the woman's skin color, show that the woman goes to a parking lot every day, create a contrast between the woman's skin and the snow, emphasize that the woman does not belong in the parking lot. This is a little tricky. This question is a little tricky. Let's see your answers. Interesting. Can I tell you a secret? I haven't seen one right answer so far. All right, let me tell you guys my answer. I knew this one was gonna trip us up. For 22, I have a confident D. Confident D. And let me tell you why. The key to D here is actually the word anomaly. An anomaly is something that is out of place, something that is weird, something that is unusual. That is what an anomaly is. So black is really telling us why this woman is an anomaly. She's out of place. She's strange. She doesn't fit in here because she's black. She's a black anomaly within a land of snow. Remember, guys, this is poetry, not prose. In poetry, you have to pay attention to all of the words. So this land of snow here is, we know that literally there is snow in Canada. But the land of snow, if you're dealing with black, as in a black woman, the land of snow actually represents the land of white people. The snow here actually speaks to the white people in Canada. So there's a land where there are mainly white people everywhere, and then there's this one black woman standing out. Right? There's this one black woman standing out. So the point here is that she does not belong in the parking lot. In fact, she doesn't belong in this country. Yeah? So the answer is D. C is close. C is close because there is a contrast. But look at the word primarily. The main purpose of this line is to show that she is a misfit. She's out of place. So 22D. 22D. All right, 22D. All right, let's look at 23. The poet uses the expression desperately squeezing the land. Let's find it. Desperately squeezing the land, squeezing from the land its celluloid comforts. 2. Set the pace, create an analogy, establish the theme, introduce a paradox. Give me an answer for 23. Yes, Chrisan, the fact that it is entitled Immigrant. That's another big hint. That's another big hint for the previous question. All right, so send in your answers for 23. Are you not afraid to answer because you got the last one wrong? Come on, send in your answers for 23. Why does the poet use this expression? Desperately squeezing. Okay, guys, when you're sending in the answers, write the number and the answer, just in case some persons might be confused, not knowing where we are. So you can write the number and the answer. It takes a little bit more time, but it might make it less confusing. If persons are just joining, we're looking at the 2018 May past paper. You can find it in the link at the top of the chat. Download it. Let's get to work. All right, number 23. The answer for 23 is actually C, to establish the theme. So how is this establishing the theme? We see the title is Immigrant. So we know that the poem is going to be about an immigrant, perhaps. And we see this, I see her every day crossing the lot, da-da-da. We are still not sure what the main theme is, but when we see here, desperately squeezing from the land its celluloid comforts. Imagine a woman going to a new land and squeezing the comforts from the land. What does this mean? It means she's trying to seek a better life. She's trying to get something from this land that she couldn't get back home. So the theme of this is not necessarily just a person being out of place, but the theme is really seeking a better life in a foreign land. It reminds me of the poem South. It's really seeking a better life in a foreign land. And that is the theme that comes out here. A and B are crazy. There's no analogy right here. There's a metaphor, but there's no analogy. And set the pace just doesn't make sense. A paradox, there's no paradox here. So yeah, 23C. 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 All right. Remember, guys, if you have any questions as we go along, if you're confused about anything, let me know as we continue. All right. In the meantime, 2023 lines 7 to 8, 5, 6, 7. Lines 7 to 8. Caribbean temper chilled by guarded hostile looks that stop the blood more than the blizzards and the frosts are significant because they do what? What do lines 78 do? So we're at number 24. Sir, what does set the pace mean? Basically, to set the pace just means to set the scene and let us know what to expect, basically. But in this context, it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really make sense. Yeah. So setting the pace, that just couldn't be the answer. We might go back to setting the pace. Hopefully, I'll be able to find an example where this could be an answer down the line. So we're at 24. All right, answer 24 is C. Suggest that the woman had to adapt her attitude to suit the environment. So remember, this woman is an immigrant. She's used to the Caribbean lifestyle, very upbeat, very forward, very outgoing, very adventurous lifestyle. But when you immigrate to a place like Canada, you have to kind of tone it down, maybe even put on a twang as some people do. You can't be too Caribbean. You have to kind of adapt, kind of adjust to suit the environment. Being here in Japan, I definitely have to do some adapting. So the woman had to adapt her attitude to suit the environment. And how do we see this in the lines? Her Caribbean temper, her Caribbean vibe and attitude and spirit had to be chilled, had to be toned down, had to be cooled down. So she had to cool down her Caribbean spirit. Why? Because she got these hostile looks. People were looking at her funny, like, why is she behaving like that? Why is she so loud? Why is she dressing like that? Why is she speaking in that way? So people were looking at her funny. And so she had to kind of change herself. She had to adapt to fit in. So basically, yeah, that's what happens. So C has to be the answer. 24, definitely C. All right, let's jump down to 25. Jump up to 25. The effect of the poet's references to the Caribbean's insane jungle rhythms in line 24 and fevered tingle of rum punches in line 27 is that they do what? So we're at 25. What do you guys think about 25? All right, 25 is A. Heighten the sense of nostalgia the woman feels. So she's basically reminiscing. She's remembering the days when she was back home in the Caribbean. And, she could enjoy the insane jungle rhythms. That could be like the parties, the dances, or just like the actual nature and so on, jungle. Yeah, and 27, what's 27? Fevered tingle of rum punches. So basically, these are representing the Caribbean atmosphere, the Caribbean vibe, Caribbean lifestyle. And she's reminiscing. So she's in Canada where she cannot enjoy these things. So it heightens the sense of nostalgia. A. Yeah. B is crazy because the life she left behind was, these words suggest that it was an exciting, adventurous life, not a difficult life. And these lines do not mirror her experience because she's having a very different experience in this new place. So mirroring the experience would suggest that uh, the experiences are the same. And yeah, these do not emphasize any coldness because we're talking about Caribbean stuff. So 25A. All right, 26. Which of the following adjectives best describes the tone of the last two stanzas of the poem? All right, I'll give you guys 5 seconds. Punch in the answers. Which of the following best describes the tone? All right, 26B. Sympathetic. Sympathetic. We see here that this description is one of a person who is just sick of this life, sick of this Canada life, and they just want to go back home. That's basically what's happening. So we can feel sorry for this woman. We can sympathize with her. It's not disapproving because the focus is on how sad the woman now feels. Yeah. So sympathetic for 26. 26, sympathetic. When you look at especially the last stanza, there's no disapproval in this last stanza. The speaker, you could say she kind of disapproves of the Canadian lifestyle, or this kind of imprisonment that she feels. But the main thing is that we can feel sympathetic toward her. She misses home, and she basically is not having a good time here. All right, 27. And if you have anything to say about my answers, if you think something is wrong, you can mention something in the chat. Someone asked what 25 was. 25 was A, 25A, 26B, 27D. Sir, what do you think the last line of the poem means? Basically, the haunting here. Let's see. Carnival specters arrive from the decaying mansions around the Queen's Park. Where's the Queen's Park? I'm not sure where Queen's. I'm not sure what this is referring to, but whatever the case is, it's really her past, like the past fun that she could have, the enjoyment that she felt. It's kind of haunted her. It's haunting her because she can't enjoy it anymore. As for like specifically what these lines, what these words are referring to, I can't tell her right now, but I know that that's what this whole stanza is talking about. Oh, Queen's Park is in Trinidad. Okay, so it means she's perhaps reminiscing on the days back home in Trinidad, and it's haunting her because she's not there. So it's like right now, sometimes, the juicy beef patty back home in Jamaica, it haunts me because I can't get it here in Japan. Yeah, so I guess it's something like that. All right, 27. What do the images of the land of silver dreams and dross of mass-produced catalog-brought trifles tell us about the woman's experience? So we're at 27. 27. Yeah, we're at 27 now. So send in the answers. Your answer for 27. 27. Land of silver dreams, dross of mass-produced catalog-brought trifles. All right. 27 is D. Her hope for a better life is undermined by the attitude of the people. The whole poem is kind of hinting at that. But how do these specific words hint at that? When you look at the, so 27D, when you look at the land of silver dreams in line 15, why is it the land of silver dreams? Why not golden dreams? Usually we talk about golden dreams. It's silver dreams because even though she is hoping for a better life, she doesn't get the chance to really get that fulfillment because the people around her, it's kind of an oppressive place that she's in. She can't really be herself and she can't really maximize her potentials in this new environment. Yeah. So that's what's happening there. And what about line 17? The dross of mass-produced catalog brought trifles. Um, this kind of suggests that she's she really wanted to get a better life, but she's not getting value. She's not getting the value that she wanted to get. Catalog bought and trifles suggest things that are cheap, not so valuable. So she's not really reaching that kind of wealth, that kind of money, that kind of better life that she expected to reach. So D. B is a close answer, but there's no evidence that she wanted that she was expecting to be rich in a short time. There's no evidence that she was expecting to get rich quick. She wanted to find a better life, but we can't say that she wanted to become wealthy in a short time. We don't see that in the poem. A and C are completely crazy. So the answer is D. All right, 8. The sun petulantly hides its head. Those of you who watch my poetry videos, you should find this one laughably easy. The sun petulantly hides its head is an example of what? Line 23. The sun petulantly hides its head. So we're at 28. The sun petulantly hides its head. It's an example of what? Answer D. I'll type the answers as well, so we can really keep track of what's happening. All right, 28D. This is metaphor and personification. Obviously, if the sun is hiding its head, it's personification. So we're stuck with either B or D. Personification and simile, but then there's no as or like, so simile is out. Metaphor, because if you look at the surrounding lines as well, the sun hiding its head is, let's see how this line is used. Line 23. Yeah, so the sun hiding its head is really a metaphor that says the hope that she felt going into Canada is now disappearing. You know, and we can look at it as a metaphor that is commenting on the fact that the Caribbean sunshine, the Caribbean vibrancy is really disappearing from her because she can't experience it. She can't experience it here. So it works in two ways. So metaphor and personification, D. All right. Let's jump to 29. The final stanza of the poem is used to. The final stanza of the poem is used to what? We know what, 29. What is the final stanza of the poem used to do? All right, 29, answer easy. It's C. We see that she misses the Caribbean life, so her past was more gratifying, more satisfying than her present. Yeah, that's the only one that makes sense. Final question on this passage. What is the poem mainly about? What is the poem mainly about? 30. What is the poem mainly about? All right, answer D, dislocation and nostalgia. She's nostalgic, as we see in the last stanza. She wants to go back home. She misses home. Dislocation means she's out of place. Basically, she's literally, if something is dislocated, it's out of place. It can't be about Caribbean life because the whole poem focuses on her being in Canada, missing Caribbean life. Exile and return, no, because she didn't return home. She hasn't returned home. And definitely she did not fulfill her dreams. So 30D. All right, let's move on to the next passage. Oh, thank goodness, another poem. Like butterflies, but lately come from long cocoons of summer. These little girls start back to school to swarm the sidewalks, playing fields, and litter air with color. So slight they look within their clothes, their dresses looser than the sulphur's wings. It seems that even if the wind alone were not to break them in the lofty trees, they could not bear the weight of things. And yet they cry into the morning air and hang from railings upside down, and laugh as though the world were theirs, and all its buildings, trees, and stones were toys, were gifts from a benignant sun. All right? Beautiful poem. Beautiful poem. I'll keep the poem over here. Oops, that went too far. Okay, I'll keep the poem on the, but I want the poem to be on the left, on the right. Okay, I'll keep the poem on the right, and we'll check the questions on the left. What is suggested? So we're at 31. Are we on the same page? We're at 31. What is suggested by the opening lines? Lines like butterflies, but lately come from long cocoons. What is suggested by these lines? We're at 31. Okay, 31's answer. C. The girls are like butterflies, but they have come from long cocoons. You know that butterflies, after the cocoon state, they open up and turn into butterflies. But these are long cocoons of summer. So they were enjoying summer break. They were off for summer, but they have lately or recently come from that break. So they were on vacation and have recently returned to school and have returned to school. A is madness because the butterflies aren't literal. They represent the girls. And they're not going on summer vacation because they have just come from the long cocoons of summer. And yeah, so D is crazy because there are no real butterflies here. So 31 is C. 31 C. All right, 32. Swarm the sidewalks in line 4 and litter air with color in line 5 are examples of which of the following literary devices? Simile, contrast, metaphor, euphemism. All right, 32. Answer C. Metaphor. The girls swarm the sidewalks. So in this metaphor, they are compared to the butterflies. They litter air with color. This is metaphoric because they're not literally littering the air. It's still a comparison to the butterflies. We see colorful butterflies and the air becomes colorful. So similarly, the girls are, bright, cheerful, colorful. So it's a metaphor. All right, 33. The effect created by so slight they look within their clothes in line 6 is what? We're at 33. So slight they look within their clothes. So slight they look within their clothes. Answer, reveal. A. An awareness of how delicate the girls seem. Slight here means kind of delicate, frail. He's looking at the girls in their, I guess, maybe school uniforms, if they're wearing uniforms. And they just look so frail. They don't look very strong. They look slight. So that has to be A. Has to be A. 34. This is a little difficult, I think. A little difficult. The poet places things in italics to do what? That's line 10 here. Why did the poet place things in italics? Okay, 34B, to emphasize the girl's frailty. We all got that one right, I think. Yeah, things are in italics because the speaker is basically saying, or at least in his view, these girls can't bear the weight of anything at all. Yeah, basically. I could give you a deeper explanation, but basically I think we understand what's happening here. They are frail and they can't bear the weight of things, of even things, of anything at all. Yeah. Maybe at some point I'll do an analysis of this poem so we can properly understand everything that's happening. All right, 35. The poet compares the girls with butterflies to do what? 35. Yeah, I like how fast some of the answers are coming in now. Seems we can finally pick up some speed. All right, 35A. The poet compares the girls with butterflies to imply that they are carefree and full of life. Yeah. The girls are, yeah, they're kind of colorful, maybe, but the point of the comparison is just as the butterflies can, just fly and enjoy life and not care about anything. They're not worried about anything. That's how these girls are behaving. And godlike is kind of a weird word here. The girls aren't godlike. They're high spirited, but they're not reserved. They're flighty. That's a weird word. They're not flying. And I wouldn't say they're uncontrollable. So 35, definitely A. Carefree, full of life. Okay, 36. Which of the following statements is an example of contrast found in the poem? Easy peasy wheezy. Where do we see contrast? Okay, 36. C. The girls look frail, yet they hang from railings. So contrast, we're looking for two kind of opposite sides of something. The contrast here is that even though they look as if they would just break, like they can't lift themselves, they're actually pretty strong. They're strong enough to hang from railings. Yeah, yeah. 37. And laugh as though the world were theirs is effective primarily because what? 37. All right, 37D. They laugh as though the world were theirs. So these girls are laughing as if this world is my playground. They have conquered their environment. It means they're not scared to climb trees and hang from anything. So the trees, the stones, everything is just there, and they have conquered it. They can manipulate and manage and dominate the environment. They're not weak at all. They're pretty strong. Yeah. 38. Which of the following words best describe the speaker's attitude to the girls? What's his attitude like? All right, let's backtrack. Someone says they're seeing fragile. Is contrast and oxymoron similar? Oxymoron focuses on basically opposite words side by side. Contrast focuses maybe on opposite ideas or opposite images. So with contrast, you don't have to see two words side by side, two opposite words. You just need to see two opposite images or two opposite ideas. Even in the same in the same stanza or the same poem. Okay, I think we need to backtrack to someone says they're seeing fragile. Let me see if I can pick up what that's referring to. Are you referring to Iodel? Are you referring to number 37? So you're seeing fragile. What do you mean? All right, let's move on for now. And Serena gives us a good explanation of why things are in italics. It does have a visual effect where the letters actually look slimmer being italicized, but I think the main effect is that things here just means anything. They could not bear the weight of. He didn't even say a stone or a leaf, just anything. They can't bear the weight of anything. That's how it seems to him. All right. Anyhow, let's move along. Where are we? 38. The speaker's attitude is one of he's bemused and admiring. He's bemused because he's a little bit taken aback, a little bit surprised at the fact that these girls are really so strong, even though they appear weak. And he's admiring their strength. Yeah. Okay, 39. The poet gives symbolic significance to which one of these are which one or two or three of these are used symbolically. So not in a literal sense, but used to represent or symbolize something else. Okay, 39 is C. 1 and 2 only. We see sorry, 2 and 3 only, the sulfur's wings and the butterflies. So their dress is looser than the sulfur's wings. Of course, the sulfur's wings here aren't literal on the girls. The girls aren't flying, the dresses aren't flying. It just means that the girls are kind of as free and as carefree, as wild in a little sense, and even as beautiful as the butterfly, the sulfur's wings. I think the sulfur's wings is like a golden or perhaps a brightly colored butterfly or moth's wings. Oh, there's a note reference to Zeus, the god of weather and atmosphere. Yeah, all right. So definitely that's used symbolically. The butterflies, obviously, symbol that's used symbolically and metaphorically. But what about the trees? The trees are not used symbolically. Where do we have trees? We're not to break them in the lofty trees. So these are actual literal trees. Nothing symbolic here. All right, so 39 is C. 39C. All right, Ayodel, we'll try to check back on that a bit later. I see you're following up on that question that you had asked about. All right, question 40, last one for this passage. The title of the poem, Beautiful Creatures Brief as These, is effective mainly because what? Beautiful creatures brief as these. Okay, 40D. The beautiful creatures, this is the comparison of the girls to the butterflies. They are brief or short because the speaker realizes very quickly that they are not as frail and weak as butterflies are. So when you look at 40, when you look at D, it implies that the vision of the girls as delicate beauties is quickly eroded by reality. So even though in stanza 1 and in stanza 2, the speaker sees the girls as being weak and frail, by stanza 3, he realizes that the reality is very different. They're not weak and frail. They're actually pretty strong. They have conquered their environment, in fact. Yeah? All right, let's jump to the next passage. Oh my gosh, this is long. One day, without meaning to, I broke a plate. The only plate of its kind that Eunice had ever owned. A plate made of bone china. And the words, I am sorry, would not pass my lips. The sadness she expressed over this loss fascinated me. It was so thick with grief, so overwhelming, so deep, as if the death of a loved one had occurred. She grabbed the thick pouch that was her stomach. She pulled at her hair. She pounded her bosom. Large tears rolled out of her eyes and down her cheeks. And they came in such profusion that if a new source of water had sprung up from them, as in a myth or a fairy tale, my small self would not have been surprised. I had been warned repeatedly by her not to touch this plate, for she had seen me look at it with an obsessive curiosity. I would look at it and wonder about the picture painted on its surface. A picture of a wide open field filled with grass and flowers in the most tender shades of yellow, pink, blue, and green. The sky had a sun in it that shone but did not shine brightly, but did not burn bright. This picture was nothing but a field full of grass and flowers on a sunny day, but it had an atmosphere of secret abundance, happiness, and tranquility. Underneath it was written in gold letters the one word, heaven. When I broke the china plate on which the picture was painted and caused my Eunice to cry so, I did not immediately feel sorry. I did not feel sorry shortly after. I felt sorry only long afterward, and by then it was too late to tell her so. She had died. When I broke the plate and would not say that I was sorry, she cursed my dead mother, she cursed my father, she cursed me. The words she used were without meaning. I understood them, but they did not hurt me, for I did not love her, and she did not love me. She made me kneel down on her stone heap with my hands raised high above my head, and with a large stone in each hand. She meant to keep me in that position until I said the words, "I'm sorry." But I would not say them. I could not say them. It was beyond my own will. Those words could not pass my lips. I stayed like that until she exhausted herself, cursing me and all whom I came from. As I was kneeling there, I saw three land turtles crawling in and out of the small space under the house, and I fell in love with them. I wanted to have them near me. I wanted to speak only to them each day for the rest of my life. Long after my ordeal was over, resolved in a way that did not please my Eunice, for I did not say sorry, I took all three turtles and placed them in an enclosed area where they could come and go as they pleased, and so were completely dependent on me for their existence. I would bring to them the leaves of vegetables and water in small seashells. I thought them beautiful, their shells dark gray with faint yellow circles, their long necks, their unjudging eyes, the slow deliberateness of their crawl. But they would withdraw into their shells when I did not want them to, and when I called them, they would not come out. All right. Yeah, it's definitely a fun passage. Fun passage. Yeah. All right. Take a deep breath. Let's put the passage over here. Okay, 41. What narrative point of view is used in this passage? Super easy. What narrative point of view is used in this passage? All right, let's see the answers quickly. What narrative point of view is used in this passage? All right, I see many A's. A is definitely correct. First person. The speaker is saying I. So obviously first person. Easy. Which of the following characters is most likely the antagonist in the passage? Tricky question. Tricky question. 42. Remember, the antagonist is the bad guy, the villain. Who is the antagonist in the passage? Who is the antagonist? The bad person. All right, 42. D. The narrator is the one who broke the plate. The narrator is the one who didn't feel sorry. The narrator is the one who just didn't care about what she. It's like Attack on Titan. The villain is the protagonist, is the antagonist, I guess you meant. Oh, the villain is the protagonist himself. Yeah, so it's interesting when the narrator is the antagonist. Sometimes the narrator can be the antagonist. 43. The narrator in this extract is most likely a what? The narrator in this extract is most likely a what? The antagonist doesn't have to be bad, but the antagonist is basically the one who is making trouble, in a nutshell. So we're at 23. 43. All right, 43A. 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 The narrator is most likely a woman reflecting on her childhood. How do we know that she's reflecting on her childhood? We see that the entire ordeal happened a long time ago. And yeah, she's basically remembering what happened when she was a child. Let's find some quick evidence. If you guys see the evidence before me, just point it out. There's something about she seeing something long after. One day without meaning to, I broke a plate. Someone said the first line. Here, line 14. Yeah, the entire thing is in the past tense, but how do we know that it happened a long time ago? We see in line 14, I did not feel sorry shortly after. I felt sorry only long afterward. And by then it was too late because she had died. So she's thinking about something that happened a long time ago. So she's likely a woman reflecting on her childhood. A. All right, 44. The image of the narrator as observant and detached is supported by the way he or she does what? All right, 44. So the keywords here are observant. So she's very keen. She notices things. She notices detailed. And also detached. She doesn't really show much emotion. She's not attached to anything. Okay, answer is D. She pays attention to the details on the plate. So she's observant. And she shows no remorse when it's broken. So she's detached. 45. The narrator may be described as an anti-hero or heroine. Which of the following qualities support this description? Narrator can be described as an anti-hero. The anti-hero is not necessarily a villain, but they are kind of like the obstacle for the hero to overcome, or not necessarily the obstacle, but something that, or someone that contrasts with the hero. So the narrator can be described as an anti-hero. How do we know this? Interesting. I'm seeing some C's, some D's. What do you know that she's an anti-hero? All right, this one is a bit tricky. Answer B. B. She's unkind. She's unrepentant. She doesn't feel sorry about the plate. She doesn't apologize. But we can't say that she's unloving. We can't say that she's unloving. Why? Why can't we say that she's unloving? Answer B. 1 and 3. She's unkind and she's unrepentant, but she's not unloving. Why is she not unloving? Do you see the evidence? Look at this. Look at this, guys. She doesn't love Eunice. She doesn't care about Eunice, but it doesn't mean that she's unloving. I fell in love with them. So she loved and looked after the turtles. So we can't say that she's unloving. Okay? Exactly. She just didn't love that one person enough to say sorry. Yeah. All right. 46. The action. So did I write the answer? Okay. 46. The action which best revealed that Ma Eunice was a disciplinarian was her what? What best revealed that she was a disciplinarian? We're at 46. All right, 46B. 46B, her punishing of the narrator. It couldn't be A because cursing the narrator doesn't make you a disciplinarian. Demanding an apology doesn't make you a disciplinarian. And grieving certainly doesn't make you a disciplinarian. Punishing makes you a disciplinarian. All right, 47. The narrator refused to apologize because he or she what? All right, 47. Why did the narrator refuse to apologize? Oh, she did punish her. She made her kneel down and hold the stones for a long time. That's punishment. Okay, 47A. She rejected my Eunice's authority. She basically is saying, "You're not the boss of me." That is what she was. That is what she was saying. 48. We're moving quickly. Which of the following words best describe the tone of the passage? 48. Extreme anger, religious reverence. What? Are you kidding me, CSEC? Nostalgic aloofness, reflective resentment. Which of these is the tone of the passage? C. Nostalgic aloofness. We see the nostalgia because she's reflecting on what happened in childhood. But how does she feel? Is she reflecting and feeling regret and guilt and, oh, I should have apologized? No, she's aloof. She basically doesn't care that she didn't apologize. So there's no strong emotion in the passage. Look even at how line 15 is written. And by then it was too late to tell her. So she had died. No emotion, no substance, no juice. Just dry. Very aloof speaker. All right, 49. The statement, but they would withdraw into their shells when I didn't want them to. And when I called them, they would not come out. Suggests that the narrator wants to do what? So we're looking at from line 29. The last two lines. This is, I think, the most difficult question on this passage, 49. It's a tough question. And And this is why it's tough. Look at the diversity of answers. All right, my answer B. Feel important and sociable. Let's look at this carefully. Let's look at this carefully. Where am I? What question are we doing? 49. Okay. Oops. Oh. Okay. So, but they would withdraw into their shells and da da da. But let's look a little bit before. Sorry. Can you guys see? Okay. So we're dealing with these last lines. So she takes the turtles. She takes all 3 turtles. Let me zoom in on this so we can understand why the answer is B. She takes the turtles, she places them in an enclosed area where they could come and go as they please. Right? But look at this next line. So they were completely dependent on me for their existence. So the speaker wanted the turtles to need her. She didn't feel important to Eunice or maybe to anyone else around her. But she wanted to feel important to somebody or to something. And that's why she loved the turtles, because she felt a sense of purpose. So she wanted to feel important. So look at how she describes this. They were completely dependent on me. If somebody is completely depending on you, you're important. Right? You're important. She's not trying to dominate the turtles, so it couldn't be A. She's not trying to be their master. She's trying to be their caretaker. Right? Look at this. I would bring to them the leaves of vegetables and water. So she's taking care of them, feeling important. I ta 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 ta. Now let's look at the actual last lines, 29 and 30. But they would withdraw into their shells when I did not want them to. Why would she not want them to withdraw into their shells? And when I called them, they would not come. So she's trying to communicate with the turtles. She's trying to build some kind of relationship with the turtles. She's trying to be sociable with the turtles. She's trying to make friends with the turtles, trying to get them to be her friends. Look at how she describes the turtles. Their unjudging eyes. What does this mean? She's looking for something in the turtles. She feels judged by Eunice. She feels as if she's just being judged. But she wants to socialize with the turtles because she feels as if the turtles are more capable of being, a true friend to her. Yeah. So she wants to love and care for the small creatures. But when you look at these last 2 lines, we see that more importantly, she wants to interact with them. She wants to, and so she gets disappointed when the turtles, do not respond to her. So that's why for 49, I have B. Yeah. Do you guys agree or disagree? You still think C is the answer? I think a lot of people say C is the answer. But it's more than just loving and caring for them. When I look at the lines, when I called them, they would not come out. Why is she so concerned that they're not coming out? She wants to talk to them. She wants to socialize. She wants to feel important. She can't get this from the human in her life, which is Eunice. So she's seeking this from the turtles. All right, let's jump to 50. Wow, unjudging eyes. The expression unjudging eyes in line 28 is an example of what? Unjudging eyes is an example of what? Unjudging eyes. I'm so happy that personification wasn't an option because that would have made it tricky. C. Metaphor. Yeah. The other devices are just totally out. All right, guys, let's make it through the last passage here. Let's blitz through this one. I'll try to read it in 4 minutes or less. May in Ayemen is a hot brooding month. These days are long and humid. The river shrinks and black crows gorge on bright mangoes in still dust green trees. Red bananas ripen. Jackfruits burst. Dissolute bluebottles hum vacuously in the fruity air. The nights are clear but suffused with sloth and sullen expectation. Man, this passage is a vocabulary test. It was raining when Rahel came back to Ayemen. Slanting silver ropes slammed into loose earth, plowing it up like gunfire. The old house on the hill wore its steep, garbled roof pulled over its ears like a low hat. The walls, streaked with moss, had grown soft and bulged a little with dampness that seeped up from the ground. The wild, overgrown garden was full of the whisper and scurry of small lives. Rahel had come to see her brother, Esther. There were two egg twins. Estapen, was the older by 18 minutes. But now they are as old as Amu when she had died. 31. They were nearly born on a bus, Esther and Rahel. The car in which Baba, their father, was taking Amu, their mother, to hospital in was. Oh, sorry guys, where am I? Looking at two screens is getting to me. The car in which Babu, their father, was taking Amu, their mother, to hospital in Shillong, in Shillong to have them, broke down on the winding Tea Estate Road in Assam. They abandoned the car and flagged down a crowded state transport bus. With the queer compassion of the very poor for the comparatively well off, or perhaps only because they saw how hugely pregnant Amu was, seated passengers made room for the couple. And for the rest of the journey, Asa and Rahel's father had to hold their mother's stomach with them in it to prevent it from wobbling. According to Asta, if they had been born on the bus, they'd have gotten free bus rides for the rest of their lives. It wasn't clear where he had gotten this information from, or how he knew these things, but for years, the twins harbored a faint resentment against their parents for having diddled them out of a lifetime of free bus rides. Asta had always been a quiet child, so no one could pinpoint with any degree of accuracy exactly when he had stopped talking. Stopped talking altogether, that is. The fact is that there wasn't an exactly when. It had been a gradual winding down and closing shop, a barely noticeable quietening, as though he had simply run out of conversation and had nothing left to say. Yet, Asta's silence was never awkward, never intrusive, never noisy. It wasn't an accusing, protesting silence as much as a sort of dormancy, the psychological equivalent of what lungfish do to get themselves through the dry season. Except that in Asta's case, the dry season looked as though it would last forever. Over time, he had acquired the ability to blend into the background of wherever he was, into bookshelves, gardens, curtains, doorways, streets, to appear inanimate, almost invisible to the untrained eye. It usually took strangers a while to notice him, even when they were in the same room with him. It took them even longer to notice that he never spoke. Some never noticed at all. Asta occupied very little space in the world. My goodness. I have run out of things to say, like Asta. Alright, let's jump into the questions. Itone. Ito. Alright, let me get the passage. Yikes, that's tiny. That's tiny. Oh, come on, come on. Okay, that's fine. All right, 51. I have the same test open on in two windows so I can look at questions and passage at the same time. Saves time. Oh my gosh. Sorry guys. I'm sleeping. I'm actually sleeping right now. This is all a dream. All right. The main purpose of the opening paragraph is to do what? All right, you know what? I'm not going to give you guys much time. 10 seconds. Let's blaze. Let's blaze. The main purpose of the opening paragraph is to emphasize the setting and convey the mood. We see a lot of setting being emphasized. Brooding month, days are long, jackfruits ripen. We see all this imagery. Yeah. So, A. 52. The most likely reason the narrator draws attention to the rain upon Rahel's return is to do what? Tricky question, I think. The narrator draws attention to the rain upon Rahel's return. Why? Nothing for 52? 52D. To parallel the protagonist's arrival with the arrival of the rain, to compare and foreshadow their effects. This is a complicated answer, but basically the rain comes in at the same time Rahel comes in to kind of show that something we should expect something, maybe something dark or something some kind of change or something. So yeah, the rain in movies as well is used to usually foreshadow and set certain moods and tones. Yeah. If I'm not explaining clearly, let me know. I'm feeling a little burnt out at the moment. Sorry guys. I apologize. So yeah, 52D. And yeah, the rest, the other answers don't really make sense. Use the rain as a symbol of violence. Nope, no violence here. Highlight the contrast between the protagonist and the now unfamiliar setting. There's not really a contrast between the protagonist and the setting. Keep the setting natural, thus focusing completely on the characters and their actions. That doesn't really make sense. So this is the only one that could work. I might go into more detailed explanations another time, but for now, gotta keep it moving. Which of the following devices are used in the statement? The old house on the hill wore its steep, garbled roof pulled over its ears like a hollow hat. What devices do we see in 53? C. Personification and simile. We see personification because the old house on the hill, it's wearing something like a person. And we see simile because it's wearing it like a low hat. It's wearing the roof like a low hat. So personification and simile. All right, let's jump to 54. In lines 8 to 9, the wild overgrown garden was full of the whisper and scurry of small lives. The narrator draws attention to the garden's what? All right. 54. B. Abandonment and animal life. The overgrown garden. It's overgrown, which means it is abandoned. It's not being trimmed. Nobody's taking care of it. So it's abandoned. It's full of whisper and the scurry of small lives. So there are many animals, maybe insects and so on, in the garden. 55. Esther's silence can best be described as what? Tricky one, I think. 55. Tricky. Esther's silence B, fading and blending. We see, I won't look for the evidence now, but we see that he can just blend into the environment and go unnoticed. And it's fading because they can't pinpoint when he went silent. He just faded into silence, basically. It's not jarring because it's not. It's stated somewhere that his silence was not like a loud noise. It's not a strange silence. It's not strange. Non-invasive and genuine is just a weird pair of words. Genuine? I don't know what genuine means here. Genuine doesn't make sense. So it's fading and blending. All right, 56. The narrative device used in paragraph 3 is what? 1, 2, 3. This one is tough. This passage has some difficult questions, to be honest. I think you guys might be surprised at my answer for 56. You guys are going to be surprised, I'm sure. And this is CSEC's fault, not my fault. I'm trying to hurry, but I'm giving you guys a chance because I want to see what you think of 56. Okay, anyway, 56A. It's not flashback. It's between A and B, flashback or backstory. But the flashback would mean that the character is remembering their own story. But this stanza is talking about something that happened before before the main characters were born. So it's not a flashback. You can't flashback to before your birth. You can't remember it. It's a backstory because we're getting the story of something that happened even before these characters came onto the scene. Yeah. In stanza 3, we have different characters. We have the father and the mother and the people on the bus. It's a backstory, not somebody remembering anything. So a backstory, Lakeisha, is just a story that happened. It's like you're explaining or giving context on a character, on a situation, by telling a story that happened long before. So you're looking into like the distant past of someone, but in this case, it's not a flashback because we're not seeing anything like a memory. So yeah, if it were a flashback, it would be told by Esther, perhaps. So backstory is what I went with. This I do not like this question because I'm not sure if you guys study a lot about backstory, but you study about flashbacks in terms of devices. So it's kind of weird having this as an answer. But 56A. All right, 57. Lines 20 to 21. For years, the twins harbored a faint resentment against their parents for having diddled them out of a lifetime of free bus rides. Served mainly to do what? '57, obviously A. Show the humor in childish imagination, expectation, and naivety. If you're born on a bus, that doesn't mean you will get free bus rides for life. That is just a child not having much sense. All right, 58. In lines 25 to 28, the narrator is asserting that Asta what? So look at the lines 25 to 28. Though he had simply run out of yet Asta's silence was though he had simply run out of conversation and had nothing left to say. His silence was never awkward, never intrusive, never noisy. It wasn't an accusing, protesting silence as much as a sort of dormancy, the psychological equivalent of what lungfish do to get themselves through the dry season, except that in Asta's case, the dry season looked as though it would last forever. What is this asserting? '58C. He adopted silence as an act of endurance and self-preservation. So basically, this silence came in he wasn't trying to hide from reality. He was just trying to preserve himself and survive. Maybe it was his way of coping. Some persons, perhaps they're socially inept. They find it difficult to. They're so they're such introverts that they find it difficult to be in social situations and speak and so on. So it might be similar where in order to just survive, he just stopped talking, and we see that here. The main evidence for that is main evidence for that. The psychological equivalent of what lungfish do to get themselves through the dry season. So lungfish do something in order to get themselves through the dry season to survive, and Asta does this with his silence. 59. Asta's ability to blend into the background of wherever he is suggests that this character is what? He's able to blend into the background. And what does that suggest? If you can blend into the background, then you must know what the background is. So he's sensitive to an ever-changing environment. So even though he's silent, he's not stupid. He always recognizes what's happening around him, and he's able to blend in. Last question on the paper. The third person subjective point of view of this extract gives rise to a tone that is best described as what? The third person subjective meaning we're not really getting this as like fact. It's almost as if we are seeing what someone thinks of a situation. Anyway, 60D, conversational. Irreverent makes no sense. Irreverent means disrespectful or ungodly, makes no sense. Sarcastic, there is no sarcasm here. Playful, playful is not a bad option, but the entire passage is not playful. It's more conversational. So, guys, we've made it through this paper. Whoa, my gosh. It took a while, didn't it? But yeah, guys, if you haven't subscribed, come on. Have I not earned your subscription? Subscribe and like everything on the channel. And for those of you who have classmates who have not been watching my videos, they still have a little time before the exams. Introduce them to the channel. Yeah, introduce them to the channel. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's it, people. Peace out. Get some rest. I'll be getting some rest for sure. Peace out, guys. Peace out. Peace out. Peace and love and safety and protection and money and ones. All right. Bless up, bless up, bless up. You can watch my essay writing videos and the essay writing live. We did an essay writing session last time. So watch that. And you can always leave comments on the videos because guess what? I'm going to respond. If you leave a comment on a video, I'm going to respond. That's just how it works. So yeah, straight ones. That's it. Anyway, guys, I'm hanging up the call right now. So see you around. Good luck. I'm sure I'll see you guys before the exam somehow. Peace out. Peace.